All right, hello everyone. Welcome back to the Hockey the 313 podcast. I am Brian,
I'm Zach.
And I'm Hunter.
and today's episode we're going to be covering over what does next year look like for the Red Wings? What are the line combinations for this team? Um, what are the predictions we have? Who breaks out for the Red Wings, and do any rookies play for this team next year? And the next subject we'll be talking about is what do the extensions look like for Raymond and Seider, and also some other news talking about Veleno's contract extension with the Red Wings. What's basically just talking about what's the holdup for Raymond and Mo? Should we be worried? And just kind of some more thoughts on the Raymond or the Veleno extension. And then, as always, finishing off with every Hockey in the 313 podcast, we have follower submitted questions. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. So it's kind of seemed like the offseason has been in its slow path since, I don't know, I would likely say since July 3rd, because the last big move was literally Tarasenko getting moved to the Red Wings because of he was the last big name on the free agent market. So I really think this offseason has kind of died down since that. So I think we can easily talk into what the lines look like for the Red Wings, barring a trade happening. But at this point, I feel like the lines are already pretty much secured and locked in for next season. I don't think we're unfortunately, I don't think we're gonna be getting any big trade for Ekblad, unfortunately, or Truba. So, yeah. So without further ado, we'll go over the lines here real quick. This is from NHL's post. This we would like to say that this is definitely not how the Red Wings lineup is going to be, but we'll do some shifting around here in a second. So the first line they have DeBrincat, Larkin, and Raymond. That's basically probably the only right lineup that they have. Correct. That is, I'd like to argue that line is above average, an above average NHL line. Next line you have Tarasenko, Compher, and Kane. Again, they probably got that one right as well. You got their two biggest, the two goal scorers on the side with J.T. Compher, the big 200-foot two-way center in the middle. The line that really broke out last year was Rasmussen, Kopp, and Fisher on the third line. I think that could be a third line again for us next season. And then on the fourth line, Tyler Mott, Joe Veleno, and Jonathan Berggren. And then for our defensive pairs, they have Sherratt and Seider. I don't know about that one. Edvinsson and Petrie, definitely not about that one. And then Gustafsson and Mata on the third pair, with Hall being the extra. And I forgot to mention Casper, Mazur, and Danielson would be the extras for the Red Wings on the forward court. And then Talbot and Lyon / Husso in between the pipes, barring a Husso trade. It does not seem like a buyout is plausible now that Veleno and the Red Wings aren't going to arbitration now. So maybe Husso gets traded, maybe not. We'll have to see soon. But yeah, kind of the first sort of line shifts I would make. I'm not so sure I would have Berggren sitting on the fourth line. He's been very, very loud about him wanting to get NHL ice time. Will there be times where he'll be on the fourth line? Yeah, but coming out of the gate, I don't think he'll be. I don't really think he'll be fourth line. I think you put Fisher on the fourth line as much as you don't want to break up that line. They'll have that line down the road, but I think for the starting lineup, I think you have Berggren on that third line. The defensive pairs are a mess. I believe that Gustafsson should play top pair. I think Sherratt should be third pair with Petrie. I think Mata should be up with Edvinsson. I will say with Petrie, though, he looked good with Edvinsson. So I'm willing to give Petrie another chance, but it's the expectations are pretty low for Petrie to a T that you can't put him on that second pairing again. It's just not how it's going to work. So that's how I feel about the defensive pairs. Justin Hall, he's going to be a Red Wing again next year. He'll slot in from time to time on here. And also a name I forgot about is Albert Johansson, who honestly could slide in for Sherratt or Gustafsson from time to time. As mentioned in Steve Yzerman's press conference, Max Boltman mentioned, do we expect Gustafsson to play the right side? And Yzerman followed up by saying that we'll see. So, I mean, he could play right side sometimes. You have to see how he flows with being on the right side. And then Talbot and Lyon, I feel like that's going to be the tandem. I don't think Husso's going to be a backup. I think he'll be our third string. So with that being said, what are your guys' predictions for this season? So I guess kind of what we'll start out with is who do you see being our top scorers? Who do you or where do you think the Red Wings will place in the Atlantic? And who do you think breaks out for the Red Wings? So Zach, I'm going to start out with you. What's your predictions for the Red Wings this year?
I think we might be kind of the exact same team as last year, but I think we finally could break through and maybe get top four in the Atlantic. So right now, based off from what NHL brought up with the top six, I'm really liking it. I think Alex DeBrincat is gonna hopefully get, I think, 35 goals, and then I think somewhere in the 70s points wise, because I mean he's been moving around the last 2 years, with Chicago, then Ottawa, and then Detroit. So I think hopefully he's settled in. And once again, I really like Lucas Raymond. I think he should be our number one points guy, barring if Larkin has a full season, then probably him. But I really liked what Raymond did in the final stretch of the season. I think he finally got confidence with this shot. As you can see, he had 30 goals for the first time, and I think he's just he kind of drove that offense, especially. And we now got a guy in Tarasenko. I was sometimes frustrated that we kind of felt like a pass first team. With Tarasenko, we're getting kind of a good finisher, like a solid guy, and I'm hoping he can get maybe 50 to 60 points, because I mean I know Tarasenko is like in his early 30s, so we will just see what's gonna happen with that. And I'm still a little bit worried about our defense, obviously, but I thought at times Sherratt has looked better than last season. Like I said in I think a previous episode, he's very good in the overtime, especially on the overtime
Those
assassin.
remember the Seattle overtime goal.
Overtime assassin.
But yeah, I'm really hoping Edvidson kind of breaks out. From what I got from his draft season and like what I saw at the World Juniors, he was coming into his draft year. He was a guy that was like he wasn't really performing well in like the J20 National, but was really good in the men's league. So that's kind of what kind of rose up to his hype. That's how we kind of drafted him. But and like once again, I thought his offense was kind of limited towards the uh, end of the season. We were playing desperate hockey, trying to get a playoff spot. But with Davidson, I can definitely see some passing upside with that offensively. You know, I think it's okay just to pair him maybe with Petrie, I guess, for now, just because, get him with a veteran maybe, even though, like, I mean, the Seider-Leddy combo kind of wasn't that good in his rookie season.
No.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I forgot about Nicoletti. Dear goodness.
Oh, God.
The trade that got us Jake Wallman.
I know a lot of Wings fans also been kind of looking to target Tyson Berry as like maybe another solid guy, but I would say if we do
I don't
that,
think Tyson Berry is it.
Yeah.
I really don't.
I don't think so either. He's basically just a worse version of Shane Gostisbehere on the right side.
Yeah,
I don't
he
think we
really
need another
is.
big offensive defenseman.
Yeah, I know. That's why I've been a little iffy on that. And I mean, another kind of bane to our existence is the goaltending. Obviously, it's been pretty frustrating. I mean, I want to say our last good goaltender maybe was Jonathan Bernier in 2021, because I remember that like 54 save game or something against Dallas, and we lost that game. So we thought Nedeljkovic was going to be the guy. Turns out he kind of faltered. But I mean, I think I'm gonna have a little bit higher expectations with Alex Lyon, just because I mean he was kind of burnt out towards the end of the season. We're obviously overusing him. Then we got Cam Talbot from LA, and I honestly thought he was pretty good, even though they were kind of playing a 1-3-1 trap. But I think he can still perform as like the 1A 1B. We can switch off like we have been doing. But yeah, I mean, the Atlantic's going to be a tough division, obviously. We still got to deal with Sabres and Sens. They could still rise up. We just don't know. But, I mean, I kind of like the offensive depth so far. I mean, defense will probably be an issue, but, I mean, I feel like we're going to be kind of the exact same team, but, like, hopefully we can finally break through this year.
Hunter, what are your thoughts?
All right. So I'm gonna preface this by saying we're probably gonna have about the same point total as we did last year. Whether we get in, whether we get out, I don't know. I don't really have much of an expectation this year. Just all things considered going on right now. Again, like you say, we got to deal with Ottawa and the Sabres. I think both of those teams are going to be a considerably better team than they were last year, especially Ottawa. I don't think Ottawa chokes again as dramatically as they did last year. I'm pretty much going to echo everything you say here. Tarasenko, he's more of a shoot first mentality. His shot percentages, they preface that. He's a bit of a bigger body. He knows how to win some of the board battles. He's league average defensively, but he is not a perimeter guy. He will always take shots. He will try and get those shots on net, whereas most of the team, it always seems like we're like a pass first and try and make them slip up type team. I'm expecting 50, 60-ish from him. I can see that. Maybe 25 goals. Kaner, I think Kane might be a point per game player. I really do. I really do. If not, maybe a couple points behind. Oh no, like 78 points, 82 games or something like that if he stays healthy. But I think Larkin will be a point per game player per usual. He has been.
Maybe he might even be more. I mean,
he might be more.
Yeah,
we saw it last year. If he didn't get injured, he was well over a point per game. Like
exactly.
I always thought
if
of
he's
Larkin as kind of maybe a 90-point guy, like when he's healthy, because with that speed.
Honestly, yeah.
he almost had
Keep
what?
going.
He was on pace for 40 goals this year. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
And then you got Lucas Raymond, play driving that line, and he's definitely taken a step up. I think Lucas Raymond, 30, 35 goal player, maybe 35, 40 assists. Alex DeBrincat, he'll have a comeback year. I don't think obviously he was post city last year, like everything he could do to hit a post. So I think DeBrincat gets 30, maybe 34 goals. I think maybe 70 points, something like that. I could be wrong. I think my favorite player that I'm really going to want to watch is Eric Gustafsson. Thinking 8 goals, maybe 30, 35 assists. A lot of work on that power play, probably power play 2. Unfortunately, and I wish I could say, there's a dragonfly on my phone. I wish I could say different, but I think, unfortunately, and I know everyone's going to be on the floor screaming about this, I think Ben Sherratt's your first D pairing. Unfortunately. I understand what you're saying about Eric Gustafsson first line, but I don't think you can put him out there against Steven Stamkos, Connor McDavid, and have him flourish. I think he's more of a 18-minute, 20-minute guy at most. So I think asking a dude who's making $2 million to go out there and, I don't know,
All right,
suck
sorry
out
about that.
25
Some
minutes of ice
malfunctioning
time,
with our
I
video
think
real
that might
quick
be a little bit much.
to get back on track.
I think Joe Veleno's going to be your first line center.
God.
Over the last 3 seasons, Joe Veleno has made like a 5 to 8 point, step up every year. I think he could do that again this year. I think he gets a little bit more wind in his sail. I don't know. Maybe Tyler Mott might help him a little bit offensively too. I think he could have 15 goals. Honestly. Rasmussen's Rasmussen.
Big Moose.
Big Moose. The Big Moose. I think our only bane of our existence was defense and goalie. I think we got three NHL caliber goalies. If Husso stays healthy, I think Husso will be great. If he doesn't, then we throw Lyon in. If that doesn't work, we have Cam Talbot. And if all three of them, I don't know, magically get ACL injuries or something, we always bring up Jack Campbell.
Yes. Yes. Please, bring him up, please.
The redemption story would be great.
For
It
your
really
Oh my
would.
legend.
God. Yeah,
Oh,
literally.
yeah.
I really would not be surprised if, I mean, I would say if Huso gets moved and we have two goalies and one of them gets injured and we have to call up Jack Campbell, I, I don't know if this is just the biases I'm talking because I mean he's a Michigan native, but I don't know why I just have like that gut feeling that when Jack Campbell comes up and he plays, maybe he starts the game, they're just like, okay, we need Talbot to rest this game. Campbell, you go in. I just have that feeling that Campbell's going to just
Plays
be
the-
lights out because you know how the pressure is playing it up in Canada. That's mainly some of the reasons that teams
That
don't
is
want to go
true.
to Canada because of the media and all that
Hmm.
pressure that's on you. Imagine how much
Mhm.
pressure you had playing as the starting goalie of the Edmonton Oilers when you have you have literally the best player on the planet and the other player who's a top five player on the planet
And not
playing on your
and not
team. You know
even
how much
Edmonton.
pressure? What?
He was in Toronto too.
Yeah,
Hmm.
seriously. I mean, that's
I
where he
feel like
flourished,
Toronto's
ironically
media is
enough.
worse than Edmonton.
I mean,
Yeah.
it
I know,
just
brave statements, but still.
it's just the fact of the matter. Like, I just feel if Jack Campbell were to come up to play a game, I feel that playing for your hometown team, having quite literally no pressure on you, I could fully see him getting back to being where he was at. Maybe not $5 million worth when he was playing in Toronto when he was a big starting goaltender playing that well. But I could see him getting back to that potential and not sucking like how he did in Edmonton this past season. So I I
Being
don't know. Maybe I'm just
serviceable.
crazy, but I just feel like that could be a possibility for him if one of our goalies are moved and another one gets injured.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, I mean,
sorry to cut you off a little bit,
no,
Hunter, but if you want to keep talking real quick about your predictions,
no,
go
you're
for it.
good. Uh, yeah, I honestly, I think again, I don't really have expectations right now. I feel like where we are in the rebuild is pretty decent. I don't know, if we take like a 1 or 2 point step back, like we get a couple more overtime losses or one more regulation loss than we did last year, I would be fine with that. Just for the reason knowing that we might probably have rookies playing this year, because obviously I feel like Tyler Mott's going to come out of the lineup every once in a while. Carter Mason's going to come in. They're probably going to slot Nate Danielson in and see what he does. Evanson's
Fishers
going
might
to
be.
have a full season under his belt.
Mhm.
Robert Johansson will probably get a bit of time up, and I'm for that. I'm okay with that because eventually down the line we're going to have to slot him in full time.
Right.
So try and get the bugs out of it while we can now, where next year we don't have all the pressure on the world on our shoulders. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
You just don't want to have like kind of a logjam of prospects like in
Right.
the system
Exactly.
because like with the LA Kings, I thought they kind of had like the number one prospect system, and I was a little
They
bit
never used them.
frustrated that they kind of kept some guys still in the AHL, where I thought they could
Hmm.
perform like pretty good in the NHL. Like, for example, like Brant Clark the other year, I thought he kind of showed some kind of nice NHL trades this year.
Development.
Or, yeah,
Yep.
The biggest thing that I have on knock on rebuilds is you have a Red Wing style rebuild right now. You have a Sabres type of rebuild right now. You have a Kings type of rebuild right now. The Red Wings are going with kind of
Where you
letting
going with this?
prospects develop as much as possible, but they're not getting that chance yet because of all the log jams you have up at the forward core. You have the Sabres, who have a ton of prospects right now, and they're developing, but they're not getting to their full potential besides a Tage Thompson or a Rasmus Dahlin or an Owen Power. You
Right.
got guys like Peyton Krebs who have not
Hmm.
gotten to his full potential yet. I mean, Zach Benson's looking very good and hopefully promising for the Sabres. Has been looking good too, but he took a big step back this year. So I think Sabres fans need to see some progress from him. I would say Matt Savoy, but obviously Kevin Adams is an idiot and trades him out for
Mhm.
nothing. But you have guys like
Yeah.
Yuri Kulich. You have guys like I'm trying to think of another prospect that's in the Rochester Americans right now. They have like three of them right now that I could rattle off, but they're not off the top of my
No
head. You
Oslin.
have those guys, huh?
No Oslin.
Noah Oslin. And then you obviously they have Consta Helenius, who there's even reports that he could frickin' play this year for the Sabres. They could do the same thing they did with Benson this year, which
Yeah.
go for it, I guess, but you got to make sure Consta Helenius is ready. In
Mhm.
my opinion, very high on Consta Helenius from my perspective. I would have loved the Red Wings to take him. I'm still very happy with Michael Brandt-Signager, but
Right.
I think they should give Consta Helenius another chance down in the Liga. And then you have a
Mhm.
King-style rebuild, like Zach, how you said. They kept all their prospects. They didn't trade anyone. I mean, you look at a guy like Quentin Byfield. He spent 2 seasons in the AHL when he was the number 2 pick. I get maybe wanting to play him in the AHL for 1 year, but don't hog the guy in the AHL when you know he can have a role on the team. The biggest name that comes to mind for me is Alex Turcotte.
Mhm.
Turcotte has been injured a ton, but he's never gotten that full chance. And I feel like that's a big issue with the Kings and their rebuild style. They jumped the gun on so many of their prospects that they convinced themselves that they weren't ready. So they go out and sign guys like Philip Deneau. They trade for guys like Pierre-Luc Dubois. They trade for Vladislav Gavrikov. And that's like the biggest knockoff. And you also see a guy like Akil Thomas or Arthur Kaliev. They're not Arthur Kaliev coming out of the OHL. He was regarded as one of the best prospects outside of the NHL. And now look at him. He's stuck on their bottom six. Or you got Akil Thomas who's stuck in the AHL now. It's very confusing. Or you have guys like Rasmus Kupari or Gabriel Velarde, which I can't believe how they traded off Gabriel Velarde just like that. Like that was ridiculous. And that's the biggest thing I have on the Kings, the knock on the Kings rebuild. When they trade their prospects, it's not for good deals at all. And when they don't, they leave them rotting in the AHL. Like when outside of Byfield, what is one confident prospect that has came up for the Kings and has been productive? I mean, I hope Brant Clark will be that next year, and he in all likelihood will be. But it's just there's different kinds of rebuilds that are in this NHL world today that you want the Red Wings to be a part of that group that develops these prospects well. And you can't be an LA Kings team where you're having Mazur, Danielson, and Casper continuously being in the AHL. And I don't think that's going to happen this year. I think one of Casper or Danielson will play in the NHL, and I think Mazur will get some looks this year. Albert Johansson the same way.
Mhm.
It needs to become that time where it should have been last year where we were on these terrible stretches when you bring up those prospects, you get them looks and look at your team this year or in this offseason, and you don't make the moves. As much as I love Fisher and as much as I love Mott's game, you don't bring those guys back, and you bring up Casper, you bring up Mazur. But, I mean, they're both back on one-year deals, so as we know of, I don't think they're going to spend the next year in the AHL full-time, or else you start worrying about what Yzerman's doing with this team, and you start worrying about what the direction of this team will be.
And then, and another thing with that, it's like, say you get one of those stretches, 5, 6 game losing streak, and everyone's just down in the dumps and whatever. Yzerman says, "All right, pull Fisher or pull whoever, bring Danielson up." That's a boot to the ass of every other person on the lineup saying, "Hey, you're replaceable.
Mm-hmm.
Pull your weight."
Mm-hmm.
So I mean,
Unless your name's
we could
Patrick
use
Kane,
it.
though.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, yeah, do Patrick Kane too. I don't know. There's strategy to it. And there's also like you're talking about the Sabres rebuild. Like the Sabres love to go after undersized, skilled forwards, whereas the Red Wings are going for,
200-foot
your
two-way
average
guys.
Yeah.
size, two-way, good on defense, has some offensive upside forwards. So you got two completely different types of rebuilds going on, and it's very intriguing to watch. I don't
And
really pay
then
attention to the Kings, unfortunately, but
and then you got the Sens who don't even know what the hell they're doing over there.
Mhm.
yeah,
Hell, let's draft Tyler Boucher at 16th overall. That'll enlighten our fans so
Yakum
much.
Chug at 7 was
Man,
still a reach, in my opinion.
Oh, that was the biggest reach
And
in
then
my
Gable
opinion. My
Addison,
goodness.
36. I don't know.
I
They just drafted
yeah.
for size, I guess.
Pierre Dorian's still there. His presence is still known there in Ottawa.
Summer of Pierre still going on.
Summer of Pierre, baby. Let's go. I kind of want to get into my thoughts after rambling about rebuilds here real quick.
hmm
I will say I don't want to be delusional, but I also want to be realistic here. I will not be surprised if the Red Wings do a little bit worse this year, but I won't be surprised if they take a big step up because we are forgetting, like, this is what I constantly hammer at people. The Red Wings had a terrible December and March stretch. If they at least knock off, I don't even know, like, if they knock off
5
three
more
wins in
wins and we
December
could have been
and
in the playoffs.
yeah, if they knock off 3 wins in December and 4 wins in March, this team is easily in the playoffs. The Red Wings put themselves in this situation because of no one stepping up with the Larkin injuries. So this team could have been a 95-point team, and I want to hammer that into people's head as much as possible. If this team stays healthy, you could see a step up because of the potential that was there last year that could be translated to this year having a Tarasenko in the lineup. So
A
getting into
full
my
year of
predictions,
Patrick Kane.
a
Yeah.
full year of Patrick Kane too, and a step up from Cat, and a higher, maybe even a bigger step for Raymond. Berggren finally getting his chance. Seider taking some of that pressure off. Edvinsson getting a full role. Having an actual NHL caliber starter in Cam Talbot. I don't want to seem biased, but like this team has the potential to get better. The big thing that I want to address here with my predictions is we did lose guys like Daniel Sprong and David Perron and Shane Gostisbehere. But what was the biggest knock on this team? Defense and goaltending. I love the idea of what Owen said with Cat stepping up. He finally has a team that he can settle in with and does not have to worry about being moved. In what better way to be settled in than in your home state? I mean, we've seen videos of how him and his son and his family having like the time of their lives in Michigan right now. Like he finally feels like he's at his home place, and I feel like that's going to be a big introduction for his next season. Even if you don't get a full healthy Dylan Larkin, if you get a 60 game guy, Larkin will be above a point per game, and I feel like that's inevitable for this team. Raymond is going to be taking a bigger step next year. I fully expect that. He had a sophomore slump. He's only going to get better at this point. Tarasenko coming into the lineup, playing with Patrick Kane, that is a dream duo that I think no one is going to be happy to play against. You have a finisher and a playmaker who Kane can still finish, and you have a guy that can have your back in the defensive side in Comfer, who's a big two-way, 200-foot guy that can make up for some of that defensive loss. And I'm not saying that neither of them don't have any defensive game. I mean, Tarasenko does have some back check as well as Kane, but you have a guy in between you that can play a defensive style game while putting up 50 points as well. The Raskop and Fisher line was phenomenal for the Red Wings last year. That's the only time that I think Fisher really shines. And I mean, everyone loves Rasmussen, so I can't really knock on him too much. And as Hunter was saying, you get guys like Tyler Mott or Fisher out of the lineup, and you plug a Mazer or a Casper in. I feel, I don't know what, just the team feels more better off defensively. And like I said, Mott, Veleno, and Berggren. Maybe even slide Veleno out of the lineup from time to time, or you slide Kopp out of the lineup and bring up Danielson or Casper. This team did get worse in the goal department, but it really didn't
But
when you really think about it, because
right,
Cat could get better, Raymond can get better, Tarasenko makes up for that Sprong loss, which he's already better defensively than Sprong will ever be. You have a full season of Kane. You have Berggren coming up, who lights it up in the AHL. The team, you lost some of the goals, but you really didn't. The
I
hierarchy of
think
it all is this
go
team
on.
can get better, and they did. I'd like to point out that Tyler Mott is a very, very good penalty killer. He's got a very good defensive style game that will complement the bottom six very well. And even on the defensive side, as we mentioned before, maybe Sherrod does play first pair, and I will not be mad at that at all because Sherrod did take a step up this year. You have a guy like Simon Edvinsson who's playing his first full year in the NHL, and we already know how good Edvinsson will be for us. Gustafson, who's basically another version of Ghost, but he's better defensively. Petrie, who you never know. You never know. Petrie could come back as a good player. Do I want to think that's an expectation? Not at all.
No.
Justin Holl and Olli Maatta are good defensive style players. Olli Maatta's a very, very good defensive defenseman. Justin Holl, we haven't seen enough out of to defer what he's like. But again, we lost Shane Gostisbehere. You make up with a better defensive and an equally offensive defenseman in Erik Gustafsson. You bring in a guy like Simon Edvinsson, who's going to take a lot of that pressure off of Seider. I was actually just watching the Wing Wheel podcast, and they were saying, is it too much to ask for a more, not so much rookie, but like as a younger player to take some of that pressure off of your number one defenseman? And Brad made a good point. I don't even think they're looking at Edvinsson as a rookie anymore. I think you've seen what he's done in the past 10 games for the Red Wings following that last season finish. He does not look like a rookie. Like you would look at if any NHLer, or not NHLer, if any fan outside of the NHL looks at this guy and ask him, outside of the facial features, do you think this guy is a rookie? And I can guarantee you 9 times out of 10 people would be like, not really. I mean, the way he plays is just so fluential to his game that I feel like you make up a ton of that on the defensive side. And like I said, kind of going over Talbot in line, you have a finally NHL caliber goalie in Cam Talbot, and you've seen the flashes that Lyon had outside of him getting burnt out. He can also play some games for you. Maybe even Husso plays. I mean, Husso isn't bad at all. I mean, outside of the start he had from last year before getting injured, fans loved him. I mean, every big stop he made, you heard the crowd going, "Whoos!" So every goalie in this system has a good chance of being good. I think, like I said, the biggest thing that I think Red Wings fans need to look at is we might be the same, but there is also a very big world in the way that this team gets better because of our added defensive games. And yes, maybe the goals do hurt us, but like I just mentioned before, those goals can come in anywhere in the lineup. So predictions for the team, I mean, hell, Owen might even be right too. Like, maybe we finish fourth in the Atlantic. I mean, maybe it sounds delusional, but with how some of the teams got, I mean, if all goes right, maybe we do reach that fourth Atlantic spot, or maybe we get that fifth or the third, oh my gosh, or the second wild card spot. You really never know. So that's kind of how I kind of feel about the Red Wings looking into next year. I mean, will I be surprised if they get a little bit worse? No, not really. But there needs to be talked about like the biggest potential of this team is they get better, and I feel like that could definitely happen.
Sorry. Just one more thing I wanted to quickly or briefly mention was I thought kind of our special teams was a little bit underrated. Like even though I mean our power play was obviously like top 5 in like October last year, but I really like the penalty killing with guys like Rasmussen. I know Red Wings fans have been on about him, Andrew Kopp, and Comfort too. I really thought those guys were, really good for our penalty killing, because they bring that kind of edge, rough grind style of hockey, and
Mm-hmm.
Andrew Kopp is a.
Oh, sorry,
No,
you
keep
go.
going. No, you're good.
Yeah, like they bring like kind of a grind style of hockey, and like I feel like we barely allow any shots to get through, but on the other hand, like Husso kind of stops him, or not Husso, Lyon kind of steps up big in those moments too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, good part of a good penalty kill is having a good goalie, but also, I understand Kopp's contract is way overbloated, but that doesn't mean he's just a paperweight sitting out there. He is
Literally,
arguably, in my opinion, one of our best penalty killers we have on the team.
Mm-hmm.
That's yeah.
the only knock that I think sorry.
No, you're good.
The only really knock that I think people have on Andrew Kopp is his contract, because I was watching, literally just listening to Locked On Red Wings as well. It's not like Copp is a bad player. He's not at all. He's a very good player, but he's being paid for something that you could be paying someone a lot less for. He's a very good bottom six penalty killer, defensive style player. Does that mean you pay him $5.5 million? No. But he's still a very, very good player, and I think that needs to be emphasized enough. He's not going to score goals, but he's going to be a very good defensive player for you.
It's almost like how Comfort's kind of what we kind of envisioned Cop maybe like because I thought Comfort had kind of a good offensive year. Like he almost had 50 points, or yeah, he obviously would have if he had played the full season. I mean, yeah, I kind of wish Cop kind of had a little bit of more of like an offensive presence, like what he did with the Jets and the Rangers before he came here.
I think that was also because he didn't have to rely on so much pressure being on him. Because when you're in New York or that Winnipeg team, he kind of had to do his own thing. When on the Red Wings, he was playing second line minutes 2 seasons ago, so I feel like that it was asking a little bit too much for him. But like I can see a world where Cop, comes to himself a little bit and maybe gets that point production up like 3 or 4 points and is even better defensively next year. There's a world where that happens. Okay. So kind of ending it off, I was going to say do any rookies play, but I feel like we already addressed that enough. Like they will be in the lineup barring an injury or just any slow start that this Red Wings team has or any slow stretch. I feel like some of them could come in. So that's kind of just looking at the Red Wings next year, how we feel and what's going to happen. Next up, I think, is the biggest thing outside of Red Wings news that needs to be addressed. Seider and Raymond have not been extended yet. There was a situation where Berggren isn't extended yet, but there should be a contract coming up for him. Veleno actually does not. He filed for arbitration, but does get re-signed with the Red Wings, 2 years, $2.275 million. First, we're going to talk about the Raymond and Seider dilemma here. What's the biggest holdup do you guys think of this situation, and should we be worried about a contract getting done yet?
It'll be done.
Yeah. I mean, it's Yzerman. I think he can still get done, but I mean, this is really our first time having to deal with signing our core pieces as, RFAs. One thing I'm just worried is that hopefully we get them done before the training camps or whatever, because, recently we kind of saw Jason Robertson kind of had a holdout, and I think he said it affected his training camp or I guess general routines or whatever. And another thing is like I kind of joked about with my brother once, like that one year when Nylander was holding out, like after they finally signed his contract in like 2018, he had like kind of a ridiculously bad season. So like I'm just hoping we get it done hopefully in August. Like I want to say that's generally a month that when we usually see NHL RFAs, RFAs just signing their contracts, and probably maybe what's the holdup is maybe term. Like I mean, we saw it with Kane in his contract negotiations, and Yzerman doesn't want to give out the term with him. So I mean, I'll be really interested in what type of term maybe, but I honestly think we should lock those guys up, and then also oh shit, I forgot what I was gonna say.
Oh, good. Do you want to quickly address what you think real quick until Zach figures out what he was going to remember?
So I definitely think it's term. And when I say it's going to be term, it's also probably going to be money in the long run. I'm assuming, because Claude Lemieux's probably going to be grinding Yzerman's gears over this too, because he knows what Raymond's worth. He knows what Seider's worth. I don't know who Raymond's agent is. I know Claude Lemieux is Seider's agent, I think. Yeah. But I think they're trying to go for a bridge because they know for a fact that the cap is gonna go up. I think it's supposed to go up another $4 million or something like that. obviously they want more money, and Yzerman wants more term. So I'm thinking Yzerman probably wants like an 8 times 8.5 or something like that for both of them, which would be great for us. Probably not the first couple seasons, but after a while, it would probably be a steal. But I could see them also signing for a bridge for 6.5,
Mm.
just to get him down that line where Raymond is a point per game producer, Seider is that bona fide, even though he already is bona
Mhm.
fide first line penalty killer, power play line driver, where they probably want to get 10 million for him, and obviously we're already in cap hell as it is, so I could
I
see
wouldn't say
Yzerman
we're in
doesn't want
hell.
to.
It's just we have everyone that we need to re-sign that's already re-signed, and you just need to pay your guys. I don't really think we're in hell per se.
Yeah, we're not. I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was definitely an overstatement. But we're like, I don't know. We're tight to the cap after they're signed, anyways. Is when we're tight to the cap.
Sorry, I kind of
So
remember what I was gonna say. Like, I
go ahead.
mean, like we kind of we're seeing a little bit of other RFA sign. Like we just saw Byfield sign. Was it a 6x8 or something? I think
No,
less.
it's a 5 by 5.75.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, yeah. Like I don't know if that's gonna compare the price with the RFA market. I mean, I know in the NFL it's pretty big with quarterbacks and I guess wide receivers too. Like we're seeing CD Lamb hold out. But I mean, I really wish we could get these contracts done already, and that would help like with our organization or how we organize our cap for the future
exactly.
and add
Yeah.
other pieces down the line.
Obviously, Yzerman grinds out his players, so
Hmm.
I could see this going uh, right up till development camp, or not development camp, Jesus, up till practice or training or whatever it is. My brain is not working. Um, but I definitely think it'll be done. I don't think they're gonna miss camp. It's just I don't know. The number is what's up in the air for me. If
Like,
it's if it's a long term deal, Yzerman got his way. If it's a bridge deal, then the players' free agents definitely got their way, and that concerns me a little bit for our future. Just cap structure wise, that's all.
mhm.
The biggest thing that I
What
would
did
like to,
Darlene take? I forgot what
I think it
Darlene
was
was.
9 mil or 10.
it was a
It
I
was a
could
nine and a
see
monster
half
that.
by
contract.
eight.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think it was a
I
nine and
could.
a half by 8.
I think that's a fair deal for Cider. Eight and a
Hmm.
half to nine and a
Yeah.
half. I could see that.
I mean, definitely, he's, our cornerstone defenseman. I know, like,
And then give him an
some people kind of trash him, I guess, but, like, I'm pretty sure he, like, led the league in shots, maybe, or something. Or block shots, I meant.
I
Or,
thought
like,
that was Wallman.
something. I don't know.
I don't know.
I
It
just
was
I
remember
think
someone. It was someone.
he had a ridiculous amount of block shots, I thought, or something.
I think it was a ridiculous amount. I don't know if it was league leading, but it was definitely
Yeah.
a ridiculous amount. I think last year, 20, not the 23 season, but the 22 season. I think Wallman had led the team with block shots because there was like I don't know 10 or 11 games we had like six every game. So I miss
The
Wallman.
biggest thing that I want to address here before we go into talking about Veleno is what I kind of see of this is like Hunter said, if we get a long-term extension with Seider and Raymond Eisman got his way, and if it's a bridge deal, then the agents made it out of a highway robbery with him. Um, the biggest thing is you don't want to get Raymond or Seider on a bridge deal because if you want to make this team better, you can't be signing them to bridge deals because in the short term, will it make it better for you to go after free agents in the next 2 years? Yeah, of course. But once you actually have to sign Raymond and Mo after their bridge deals, you're going to be in cap hell. That's why I'm saying we're not in cap hell yet, but I mean, there could be
Yeah,
things leading up to it. Um, you need to get them in long term deals. And I get they want to get paid but that's why you give them the money now, because you look at the next year contract coming off the book. Kane's coming off the book. You got Husso coming off the book. Petrie coming off the book. Mata coming off the book. You'll have around $18.5 million coming off the books next year. And that's what kind of Yzerman's building off of, is he's making contracts come off the books while getting money after. And that should be his kind of instinctive plan, is that you get Seider and Raymond locked in now, so you make this team better down the road, because as contracts keep going down the line, you'll get more money. But like next year, as the cap go up, we could have over, I don't even know, like $22 million in cap next year, maybe even more. I mean, if you want to bring back Kane, you want to keep doing these 1-year deals, you bring him back, but that allows you to go after a big fish and a left or a right-handed defenseman next year, or a big third line 40 to 50 point guy next year, make your team better. That's why I emphasize, either way, I'll be happy if they get extended, but there's more pros than there are to cons getting them locked in long term than there are cons to pros getting them in the bridge deal. Because yeah, you can get free agents now down the line, because once next year rolls around, you might even have more cap space if you sign them to less money, but in less term. But say those 4 years are coming up, and I'm literally just spitballing here. Say you sign a guy like Mitch Marner, or I don't know, a defenseman that's coming out the books. Say you sign Mitch Marner to like a 9x5, or sorry, a 9.5 by like 7, or a big defenseman by
That's a
like
steal.
it's a steal. But I'm just more of just
Comparatively.
kind of getting the addressing like the contracts, you know. So
Right.
maybe not 9.5, maybe like a 10.5 by like 8 years, or a defenseman like $7 million for 4 years or something like that. Yes, you make your team better now, but when those 4 years come up, when the Red Wings really are in that cup window and you have to extend Raymond and Mo again
$12 million.
with more money, it's going to make it less likely for you to go out after those big fishes. Especially if the Red Wings make the playoffs and they get, say, in the final year before Raymond and Seider's contract comes off the books, they make the Eastern Conference Final, and they're 1 game short from, it's a Game 7, and they're 1 game away from the Stanley Cup Final. You go into free agency with that mindset, saying you need one piece to push you over the edge, because this team is ready, but you need one piece. You can't really do that when you have to extend your players to even more money, and you're basically just running it back with the same team. And teams get better, so they need to get done long term, and if not, the Red Wings, I wouldn't say the Red Wings are in trouble, but their future looks a lot less more bleak than it should be.
Yeah.
So, with all that being said, all Red Wings fans want the contracts to be done, but I think long term definitely needs to be the priority if this team needs to get better. Okay, getting into the Veleno contract, Veleno signs at 2 years, $2.275. Not much I really want to address with Veleno here, as he's our projected fourth line center. And Dayton, he wasn't able to be on the podcast today. He did text me what his thoughts were. He said, I think it's an all right signing, a little higher than I would have liked, but a decent fourth line guy who has the speed to play up and down the lineup. Hopefully gets 30 plus points this year. He literally just took the words out of my mouth. When I saw this contract, I'm like, 2.275 may be a little rich for a guy like him, but I mean, I can see a whole new world where Veleno keeps getting better, like you said. So it's only 2 years as well, so I don't think there should be too much knock on the contract there. So yeah, it's Veleno's contract. He's been a Red Wing since 2018, drafted 30th overall with a draft class with Zadina in it. He was, ironically enough, projected to be the first overall pick a couple years before his draft.
Special exception.
Still, though, I think for a guy that you got at 30th overall and he's still in your NHL lineup, I still think that's a very good bragging right to have, because you still have guys that are out of the NHL that, I don't even know, past the 20th overall range that aren't playing for their same teams or aren't even playing for the NHL anymore. So I think having a guy that was drafted 30th overall and still playing for your team is still a good, kind of flex to have in your system. And I think everyone likes Veleno as a player. He's an NHL he's a Red Wings favorite on the team. So getting him back on the team, I think, is a big plus for us. Okay, so with always, we're going to end off the episodes with the follower-submitted questions. This is from Dayton's Red Wings coverage story, where you guys get to interact with us and ask questions to your belief in kind of some of your uncertainties that aren't addressed in these episodes on what you guys want to know. I have a couple of questions here from our team on who do you think gets put with Seider? I'm thinking Sherratt or maybe Gustafson. I would like to know your guys' thoughts.
I mean, my dream would obviously be like probably Simon Edvinsson. I mean, I would maybe do that yet. I think we could probably see it maybe on a power play. I don't know. But I mean, I think Sherratt maybe for the beginning of the season won't be that bad. I guess just to start off, and then maybe we could see where it would go. Or like you said earlier, I think maybe, I don't know, if we put Gustafson somewhere. But yeah, I'm a little bit like weird about it right now. Like obviously Seider had a large workload last season. So I mean, our goal probably right now is just to get a little bit of less pressure off of Seider.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the answer is obvious. It's got to be Seider Petrie. So
okay. No, enough of that.
No. Honestly, when Jake Wallen was injured for the last 10 games or so, I know I'm like comparing apples to oranges. It's like Sergachev and Hedman to Seider and Sherratt, but I don't know. Sherratt impressed me a little bit because he seemed like he took a step up. He finally got acclimated to the line. He wasn't taking the weird, brash decisions that he took the year previous to. I could see in a world where a Sherratt-Seider line would work. It would probably not be the best thing in the world, but I honestly think you could. Yeah, it's doable. It's doable. It's not the worst thing. You could definitely do worse.
I just think the biggest thing, like Zach said, is you start out with Sherratt, you give Edvinsson some of that, you kind of ease him into that role, and then you let Sherratt kind of flourish back on what he was with Florida and Montreal and why he was worth the first-round pick, because I do think Sherratt can get back to where his game was. Maybe not as it once was, but somewhere around there. And I think he will take a step next year. And then playing with Seider again will definitely help until, like, I don't even know, maybe a third of the way through the year. Then you put Edvinsson on that second pair and you keep rolling with that. So, yeah, I mean, I think we can all agree at the start, Sherratt should start out. There can be some instances where Gustafson plays top pair, but in the end all be all, I think Edvinsson might be that guy that they play with him later down the line.
I mean, this is also Lalonde we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, he'll have probably a lineup that works, but then 5 games later, he's just like, nah, let's put Hall and Seider on a line and see if that does anything.
Let's experiment with the veterans.
7D and 11 forwards.
Yeah.
Usual.
He's just, it's a line. He always does that.
Mm-hmm.
Or one day he'll be like, fuck it, let's put Kane on the third line with Rasmussen and Shane or Andrew Cox.
Oh, jeez. And the funny thing is that's actually going to happen this year, too, just because of how much he shuffled.
Didn't he do that last year?
He didn't put him on the third line, but he put Ras on the second line.
Oh, yeah.
He put Ras on the second line and then Perron on the first. Jeez, dude.
Was that maybe because of injuries or...
No, I think that was just from shuffling around the line.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Or compare him with two-goal legend, Oli Mata, 2-goal game legend.
Oh, Jesus.
I could see Oli Mata on the first line with Seider. Well,
the thing is, they're both right-handed D, so I don't know how plausible that would pass. But, I mean, Mata can play second.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the left-hand, right-hand argument. I forget about that.
That's a whole story for another day.
Yeah, I know. It is what it is.
Okay, getting into the next question here. Griffin Krawczyk said, Eastern Conference predictions with the emphasis on the Red Wings, of course, and then is Danielson NHL ready yet? I'm going to go first because I don't want to go in depth in this at all. I'm just going to go over what teams I think should be in
Oh
this
God.
Eastern Conference. So starting off in the Atlantic, am I dumb to think the Atlantic stays the exact same? Just Florida, maybe not. Florida, Toronto, Boston, Tampa, Detroit. Man, that is tough. I don't know. We'll start out with just the Atlantic. Then we'll negotiate on the wild card. So in the Atlantic, I'll have Florida, Toronto, and Boston. And then in the Metropolitan, I'll have New Jersey, the Rangers, and Carolina. For the wild cards, oh my God. It literally could go any way possible. You have Washington, who got better. You have Tampa Bay, who's got worse but still there. Pittsburgh, who's still Pittsburgh. Detroit, Ottawa, Buffalo. I mean, I'm going to say it now. I think it's going to go Tampa and Washington again. And then Detroit barely misses. I would like to think that Tampa falls off an absolute fucking cliff this year. But with Getzel coming in, maybe not. But the defense, I don't trust their defense.
Oh, yes.
I don't trust
Sergachev's a
McDonough being
big
back.
piece.
They got Moser.
Sergachev was a huge piece.
But
Yeah.
I like Moser, but filling in the shoes of being a top 4 defenseman in Tampa Bay.
He's definitely like not going to be in their power play.
They did get McDonough back though.
Jeez, yeah, big deal for McDonough. McDonough will not be the same player he was. That's all I'm going to say.
No. Here, you can have him.
They can put in
take him back. I don't want him anymore.
Shoot, they can bring in that Norwegian guy, who I forgot his name.
Tampa Bay just spits players out of their ass and they just put them in the lineup. I swear.
That's what they
did.
It's
ridiculous.
Yeah.
I remember sending a picture to the group chat once I got back from Mexico because we were playing Tampa that day. I look at the line combos because I needed to make a post for it, and I'm like, are those players real? Are those players real? Is that a defensive defenseman?
Williamberg, yeah.
Oh my God, dude! Like, there's. So yeah, I mean, in all honesty, I think that's maybe how the divisions will go. I think that Atlantic will stay the same. I think it still goes. Maybe it doesn't stay that. I don't fucking know. Because Florida did get worse, but they're Florida. They're still going to be good. Toronto stayed around the same. I mean, if you want to count bringing in Chris Tannen.
And that contract is bad.
That's like we mentioned before. That screams LTIR.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the league is like, I'm gonna watch this. I hope you know that I'm watching you.
If we see him go on LTIR in his third year of the contract, you're getting a punishment. But I don't care.
That is like, all right, that's sus. Oh, okay.
The thing is, though, with the Atlantic, the thing that pisses me off the most is Florida technically got worse because they lost Montour.
And
Toronto.
Yes.
Oh.
And Larson.
I thought they lost someone else bigger on defense. I mean, I guess
Ekman Larson.
Yeah.
It's gonna be really interesting because they brought in both Boakfist.
They brought in Boakfist, baby.
I think both of them. Yeah.
And, hell. Florida's going to turn Boakfist into what Chicago thought they got when they drafted him. Yes. I swear.
It's going to be.
That'll be fun though.
It's going to be such a meteoric rise, and I can't wait to see it.
It's going to piss me off how much it's going to work too. But it's like I said, it just pisses me off that Florida technically, in the grand scheme of things, got worse.
Mm-hmm.
Toronto overpaid for defensemen that are going to fall off, maybe even this first year. I don't even think OEL is going to be worth 4 years. Chris Tanev, his game ages well, but will it be enough for him to stay healthy for fucking?
I'm pretty sure he played on like one leg in the playoffs. Like he was in a boot. I remember the airport and all that.
And as much I'm gonna clown on this team as much as possible because Red Wings fans love hating on this team. Boston. Let's go out and pay Elias Lindholm a 7-year deal. Let's go out and pay Zadorov 7 years for a bottom pairing guy. They
You
got
do
better.
realize, though, it's Boston, and they're just going to
They're
be
just
good
always
again. They
It's
can't
so
keep getting away
annoying.
with it. Like, Lindholm and Zadorov on paper doesn't work, but watch them be absolute superstars. And it's going to piss me off so bad because I want them to fall off so hard, and they just won't.
I just feel like they're
They'll
like
be
the LA Dodgers. Like they always grab a random player in their farm system or like an old washed up guy, and then all of a sudden he's like kind of a star and a huge contributor.
Jenny Martinez. I'm sorry.
And Jason Hayward.
Oh God. I mean, hey, hell, they're paying $200 million for Otani and Yamamoto, so they're doing something right over there, I guess. But I mean, they lost the Tigers.
And like
They
for
lost the series to the
Boston, a
Tigers.
guy like freaking Brazeau and JVR even had a good season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm surprised he hasn't been signed yet, honestly.
Yeah.
You know a guy who hasn't been signed that's been linked to the Canucks, baby?
Sprong.
Daniel Sprong.
Daniel Sprong.
Why does every Red Wings player go to the Canucks?
It's so damn real, dude. It's piss suitor. Piss missile suitor.
Pitch missile shooter.
The Swiss missile.
So
Yeah.
I getting back to the predictions, I'd like to say some teams got better, and they did, but for how long? So there could be a world. I don't see a world where Washington misses though. Like they added so much. I mean, as much as we hate PLD, he's still an upgrade in their lineup. They brought in Matt Roy. They brought in Jacob Chikrin. I'm trying to think who they got as their goalies because they traded out Darcy Kemper.
Logan Thompson.
Lindgren.
Logan, yep, they got Logan Thompson. I don't think they'll miss the playoffs. I think they'll be a wild card spot.
I don't know how they did it, but they got better, and it pisses me off.
Mm-hmm.
And
we don't even talk about teams like the Islanders either.
Yeah.
So I mean, the Red Wings have got a long hill to climb, but there is a chance that it happens. You know, like I don't think Tampa Bay is going to hold up much longer.
Yeah,
I do wonder though, the Caps too. I wonder if they do at one point focus on getting Ovi to that record, or I mean they'll probably
pass the record and then just completely blow it up. Tell them, all right, we're trading everyone. You're gone now.
Because I
we
mean,
got our clout.
You are on LTIR
now. All he's doing is just going to the net and just zero defense.
I mean, to be fair, they did bring in Mangiapane as well that I forgot about. I'm really high on a guy like him, so they did get better.
I like him, yeah.
There's going to be, I will like to say, there's going to be a gauntlet of teams going into this Eastern Conference, but the Red Wings have a chance as much as the next team. I still think, I will say the Atlantic is a lot more competitive now. Every team, in my opinion, did get better.
Oh, yeah.
There's no gimme games anymore. Like, Montreal isn't a gimme game anymore. So, that's kind of our thoughts. And just a simple question. Is Danielson NHL ready yet? No, but he has flashes that he can do really well, like in his training camp last year. So put him down in the AHL, give him a couple of looks.
I will say in that brief prospect thing or whatever, you know, like Dan Cleary really liked him, and honestly, I liked that speed. And I know it's just like a prospect thing or whatever, but I mean, I'm starting to get a little bit of confidence that he could make the NHL this year, or at least play a couple of games.
Yeah, I could see something happen in camp where either Mazer or Danielson basically just tells them, "I'm playing now," and then they have no choice but to just, I don't know, bury Tyler Mott in the AHL, which would be sad, honestly. But I could see one of them, because Danielson did it last year, and they still didn't let him play. I thought Danielson was ready, honestly. He looked like a stud. I watched him in person against Chicago. He looked like a stud.
Yeah.
He looked like a stud.
I would say he's not NHL ready yet. I don't want to put the emphasis on that. It's just, I'm more thinking of the coach's perspective of it, if they think he's NHL ready.
I get that. Yeah, I get that. Because it'd be hard to throw a dude who came from the Brandon Wheat Kings and whatever team he was traded to, and just saying, all right, now you're playing here. Have fun. Here's Patrick Kane.
You're playing third line minutes, buddy. Get ready to learn against McDavid.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I could see him in the AHL for one season, and then he has no choice but to be in the lineup. He doesn't give him much of an
They
option
won't
after
give him
that.
a choice.
Yeah, exactly.
Or he won't give them a choice. He will be
Yeah,
playing. I don't
yeah.
know if fans are.
I can't wait for preseason. I'm gonna go watch it. We're playing Ottawa, I think, this year, right? In the preseason.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to
I
that
believe so.
game. I'm going to that game. So,
Okay. So the final question of this podcast episode, kind of a very simple question that I like to add on here. Aiden LaPrise says, how big of a role do you expect Edvinsson to play with the D-core? I think we kind of addressed this earlier, but I think he's going to play a huge role with the D-core this year. I think the Red Wings don't really view him as a prospect anymore. They're viewing him as an NHL regular. He's going to play the big boy minutes that they need him to play, and then maybe even promote him to that top pair. I think every Red Wings. It's been a long time coming for him to be in the NHL, and I think it's about damn time he needs to be getting the minutes that he deserves. He's been NHL ready since the start of last year,
yeah.
So he's going to be playing a big role in this defensive core because him, Axel Sandin, Pellikka, and Seider are the future core of this defense. So I think there's a lot of expectations for a young guy like him, but I mean, he plays like an NHL regular, so I think there's no pressure really added on, you know?
Yeah, I mean, just the way he played in the AHL and the AHL playoffs, like I thought he was one of the huge standout players for Grand Rapids, and obviously with his second call up last season, once again that final stretch, I thought he was really good defensively. He was good skating as well for his size, and one thing I hope to see is a little bit more offense, but like it's not a point that I don't expect him to explode in points, but
right.
just hopefully has a nice just a nice point total or whatever, because I really thought he's shown some offense. Like I remember that goal against Toronto was pretty sick, so I think he could some step up or something like that. But yeah, I think he's ready.
Brian just loses his webcam.
Great.
No, it looked like it just fell over.
No. Oh, I thought you said I lost my webcam.
No, you're good. It just looked like it fell over.
I was gonna flashbacks to last episode where your screen got really wide. Wide Putin meme.
I don't understand why that happened, because it looked fine the whole episode, I swear. But I think Edvinsson, he camps it out on the second line, just so that our defense isn't so top heavy. You put Edvinsson on a line with Seider, then what do you have? You have a Petrie, Mata, and fucking Sherratt, and
I love it.
Johansson or Hull or whoever.
I'm high off the wholeness.
Give me Sherratt and Petrie again, baby.
Yes. Oh my God, no.
Best D-core in the league. God, I genuinely love to see the analytical numbers of that defensive pair.
Oh God,
they didn't really give us much, did they?
Nuh-uh. To put it in
was that forgettable? That forgettable. I see Edvinsson in PK2. Maybe if Edvinsson or if Gustafsson or Seider is out, God forbid, knock on wood, they aren't. I could see him maybe moonlighting as a power play quarterback every once in a while. Maybe not a regular, but I could see him taking a step up and being, a bit of an offensive force. I think he gets 30, 40 points this season.
Agreed.
6 or 7 goals.
Yeah,
I'd be happy with that.
Hope for him offensively.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that.
Okay, so that'll end it for episode 4 of the Hockey Through and Through podcast. Just in general, I really like addressing this episode. It's a very big step back from the big news that's been going on in the NHL. It just kind of allows us to look at the Red Wings, just the Red Wings, and what we think about this team, and going into next season on how we feel what's going to happen, or some of the thoughts on the team and what we believe that it's going to happen for the team, as well as looking at the Seider and Raymond contracts and seeing what could happen for the future in the short term for these two players and the team. So, it's a nice little step back for us, and I think that's definitely needed for this time of the year. But I mean, it does get boring, so you're just gonna have to fill these in until training camp or stuff happens. So, yeah. With that being said, we thank you guys for listening for this episode of the Hockey in the 300 podcast. I'm Brian,
I'm Zach.
And I'm Hunter.
and as always, guys, we appreciate you guys listening. We'll try and get episodes out weekly for you guys. Obviously, like I said, very slow time of the year, but we like talking about all things Red Wings hockey. So yeah, that being said, have a great rest of your day, guys. And as always, let's go Red Wings.